Hmm. Doing your first film is, well, it's difficult. Sam Diggs, and I want to talk to you about a little short film that I got to do, and it's my first one. It's called Conflicted. And it's a story that I was really attached to. I really loved the idea of this story. And first off, spoiler alert, so make sure you go through it and watch that first before you watch this, because I'm definitely going to be mentioning about the story and spoiling a lot of the short itself. So, with that being said, well, what is Conflicted? It's a story about a father who just recently lost his daughter, who's also just recently divorced, and he moved onto his own into his own apartment, and he's now dealing with this dilemma. And lo and behold, he gets contacted by the killer through social media, and he is just toying with him the entire time until the father figures out that the guy has been following him the entire time, and or his family. And here the killer lives not too far, lives four doors down. So yeah, he finds justice in a way. I mean, he doesn't really, you don't see what happens until after that because it ends abruptly. So you can kind of guess or assume what happens. And I like to think that he definitely went in and probably beat the shit out of him. But that's left up to you. It's left up to the audience. So I leave that to your interpretation of what you feel and think at that point. I mean, you get solicited through social media, through messenger or messages in general. Shouldn't just say messenger, but messages through social media in general all the time from all different types of social media. And 9 times out of 10, you usually just click out of it or it's thrown into spam and you never even see it. But I was thinking, well, what if it's someone trying to contact you about something that happened or whatnot? And well, what if it's a killer? What if, this did happen? The guy's daughter died and the killer contacts him through a messaging app. Keep saying this. Through a messaging app, through social media, and yeah, and there's this turmoil. That's just my whole thought process on that. What would happen? What would go on? The killer would just be toying with him, because why else would you contact someone like that through a messaging app? Why? You know, maybe they're wanting to be caught, because if you think of a lot of serial killers and so forth, they want to be caught. They want their story to be out there. You can go find this on any killer, any serial killer, because that's kind of who my guy turned into. And my story changed along the way multiple times. It changed a lot in the edit, I would say that. But yeah, I kind of was thinking, and I went through and started writing the script, and it just started flowing out of me. So that's where I came from. Conflicted was through messaging apps, through social media, and what if someone like a killer contacts you that or a relative or a loved one you had passed from someone who was being killed. So the setup for this whole film, well, I planned a lot. I mean, granted, I went through the script, I did rewrites, and I had some help along the way from multiple different people, and I think that's kind of where it lost the sauce a little bit on the script side, but I planned a lot. After writing the script, I wanted to go through and get my shots all planned out. Even though I'm not going to be the DP on this project, I want a particular look. I'm very anal when it comes to the look of every one of my films, period. I have a certain way that I want to show certain things and so forth. And did that message come across in the final edit of the film? Yes, in a roundabout way. I wouldn't say it was 100%. And that's not the fault of my DP. That's more the fault of me. I'm pre-planning everything. I went through and built stuff for this. My father went through and built me a guardrail because the daughter was dropped off at a guardrail. And so when the father is imagining his vision, because he is super high, of what is being said in this certain room, it's at a guardrail. and it's just like you cut the guardrail out and you put it right in the room. I also went through and built a whole dolly system or rig for this because I didn't have a lot of money. A lot of this whole project was done for free. These were all volunteers that I had that, we traded a lot of skill sets and so forth, and we made this project. So I didn't have a lot of money, so like I said, I made a dolly. And did the dolly work out so well? I wouldn't say 100. I wouldn't even say 50%, because there were some issues with it, and I kind of made it a little too quick and too cheap. So that's kind of my problem on the dolly, but it worked for what it was intended to. So, eh, so. Getting locations for this was also super hard. I probably should have either waited to shoot this because I shot right at the beginning of the pandemic. Everything's starting to hit the fan, and well, I needed a doctor's office, and I'm not going to be able to get a doctor's office during this time, and I honestly didn't even think of that. So again, there's one check that I should have taken care of or rethought of in some way, shape, or form. So I needed a doctor's office, and we made some weird doctor's office out of a spare room in a house that we were filming in. It worked. I wouldn't say it was a full doctor's office. And since this project, I didn't have any money and I was not paying any cast or crew, that's one of the things about this that I could have never asked for anything better, was my entire cast and my entire crew. They really busted their asses on set and beforehand and after to really get me, or get us per se, because it's not just my film, but it's our film. And it's now your film as well. A product that was, well, somewhat true to the script itself. And my actors, they really, I mean, they really showed up. I mean, if you watch this and you look at the acting, you're gonna go look at it and go, the acting is superb on this. And well, I give that's a testament to them. They really went through and gave me their all, as well as the crew. And with all the issues I had with the equipment side, because while filming the doctor's office, not only was I was having issues with the dolly, but I was also having issues with a new piece of equipment, which was a jib, and it just wasn't working out. It was too cheap, and I wasn't getting what I really wanted to get. So a lot of things had to change in that end. But they really stuck it out. They really tried to do what was necessary to try to get the look that I was looking for, even with all the issues we were having with it. So that my crew, again, hats off the entire the cast and crew of this project. They're the ones that really push forward in making me want to see the final product of this film itself. So the shoot lasted 4 days. I planned a 28-page script for 4 days. First off, never do that. I now learn I don't want to shoot no more than a couple pages a day, because there's a lot that goes on, especially the stuff that I want to do and so forth. So doing 28 different pages in 4 days was, well, super hard. And while we were shooting, I shot at a park, and the park worked out perfect. This is day one, and this is with dolly and everything. And the dolly shot that we got, I think that really actually worked out as planned for this shot. Granted, I had to fix a lot in the edit, but it worked out somewhat okay. But the park itself, I didn't have any issues. I contacted the park authority and they gave me the okay, and they were giving me a huge helping hand. Here in Pittsburgh, and South Park is where I filmed, and they had no issues, and whatever I needed, they were right there to give it to me. So, hats off to them. And well, then the second part came, which was filming in my apartment. That was super easy. That was free. And I knew that before going in that I needed locations, some locations that were easy to get. My apartment, I live in the thing. All I have to do is just move some stuff around, and that's free. Uh, that is nothing, right? But the doctor's office and the what I called in the script the white room, which it's a white room. It's a dingy white room, but it works out as a white room. Uh, the white room was perfect. That, to be honest with you, that was probably by far the best location that I got was that room. Was the doctor's office again. Just didn't look so much like a doctor's office that I was wanting or going for. The lighting, because we were doing so quick, again, shooting in 4 days, and you're having to shoot, multiple pages in one day, that hurt a lot because we're moving too quick. And just the look itself wasn't what I was going for. And granted, we got what we wanted, we got what we needed, and it worked out for the time being and for the short itself. Yeah, the editing, first off, again, just like any other film, this is where this film started to shine. It's also where my errors started to shine. And I'm talking tons of errors from just, again, planning and not having the time to do different things. And then in the edit, having to go through and fix that is super difficult because now you have to edit around your mistakes or edit your mistakes out and so forth. So there was a shot that was between Bud, one of basically my red herring character, and Ethan, my main character, where they go to meet the first time. So Ethan is hearing animals, and when he hears these animals, he goes towards it. And what it is it's Bud feeding the animals. He's out late at night just feeding them. Well, when they go to interact, or meet each other, we didn't get that. I don't know where that fell through the cracks, but it fell through the cracks somewhere, and I have no one else to blame but myself. But it fell through the cracks, so I had to go through and think of a way. It's like, how am I going to edit this out? So I added a lot of trains through the whole film. And when you're in the apartment, you hear the train in the background that is by the apartment itself. It's a commuter train that goes in and out of the city here in Pittsburgh. That here in Pittsburgh we call it the T. And you hear that and see that going by someone in the first part of the film. And then while he's in the white room, because the reality is a little bit more augmented, it turns in from a passenger city train to a full-on locomotive at a rail yard. And you hear that subtly in the background. So again, augmented reality to some way, shape, or form. So I was like, okay, what if I just add a passing train? It's a good transition, and it can transition and just kind of cut out that whole accent I had. I think it worked out pretty well. I think I would like the meat better than what happened because I was kind of creating a moment of shock. I don't know if I really created the moment of shock, but that's kind of what I was going for. And for what it was and what I have, I think it worked out perfect, to be honest with you. So again, I would do it a lot different, but the edit is where it saved it there. So there's other areas that I had. I had underlit shots, and that was super difficult. Very, very difficult. And those underlit shots I had to go through, and thank God I was filming on my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, and we were filming in B-RAW, so therefore I had a lot to go through and really change within the edits. That really helped me there, but that still hurt to some way, shape, or form because there's still a lot of information that was lost and I had to go through and fix it somehow. Even though I think I fixed it pretty well. Final part of this film turned out to be, I think, a pretty good film overall. I would say there's definitely some issues with story and the progression and so forth that I would definitely go through and change. And I think that kind of started with the script to some degree, and also through the filming itself. But honestly, for what I got and what is being shown now, I think for a first film, it's good. It now when I go through and show more things, it's going to show a lot of the progression I have. It's going to show a lot of the learning that I've been able to do over the time, just 2 years to be honest with you, because we shot this in 2019. So yeah, I think it really will show where I've come from, but it's a good start. And I think this film turned out to be pretty good for what it is, even minus all the errors and minus all the hiccups we had. Work within your means. I mean it. Work within what you can get, period, on any budget. If you're working on no budget, like what I was doing, get locations that are completely free. Granted, I had a couple locations that were completely free. The park was free, my apartment was free, but that was it. My doctor's office and the White Room were not free, even though they were cheap, and I knew the person who owned the building, and that helped out a lot. The doctor's office, however, again, I wanted a real doctor's office, and it's difficult. You have to work around a lot of different things when it works, especially a health field at that point. It's very difficult to get that. Now, granted, I could have just gotten any old office and turned into a doctor's office, but again, it's still getting that office is the difficult part. And we're also filming during the pandemic, so that's also difficult. Now, granted, we didn't know that there was a pandemic coming or going on, and we were all learning this, but being able to get locations that you know that you're going to be able to get for free or whatnot, that is the biggest thing to learn here, is working within your means. That's not also to say with equipment. I built some equipment and bought some equipment. My equipment that I built, I did work a lot better than some of the equipment that I bought, especially that jib, where even though I built it, I played with it, I tested it, but I didn't test it in the real world sense of what it was going to act like on set with other people that don't know what I really did so to a degree on building this dolly rig. Granted, I showed them how to use it and what I was doing, and okay, but there was a lot of issues with it. And again, I couldn't afford a dolly rig, even a cheap one at that point. So I built my own. And and then a jib. It's cheap. You're going to have issues with cheap equipment sometimes. And that's one of the biggest things that we had the issue with, was that jib. So working within your means that's the biggest takeaway. Hands down, is working with what you can get. If you can't get it, then don't do it. That also goes with visual effects. If your visual effects are definitely going to pull you out of a movie, don't do it. It's going to be much more detrimental to your film and your story than it would be anything else, because as soon as someone's pulled out of your story, anything, they're pulled out. They're done. They can't come back into the story. Unless you, honestly, it's hard. I'm not gonna say you can't do it. It's very difficult. So work with what you can get and what you can do versus what you can't do. Sometimes we want to think big and dream big, but do we have a big budget in order to do that? And that's kind of what it kind of comes down to. It all comes down to. So that's my first film, Conflicted. It was the biggest learning process that I got. So you look at it as in, would you do another one? Yeah, I loved it. No matter what the errors and issues I had, I loved doing this film. I loved being on set. I loved being in the editing room. I loved the pre-planning. I loved the writing, the whole thing. It was so much fun, and I want to do it again and learn from my mistakes and learn from the mistakes in general to go through and make a better project the next time, and do the same thing on that project. Learn from those mistakes and learn what you can do and what you can't do, and fix it or do something different on your next project. That is one of the biggest things you can do, is if you have those mistakes, did you learn from it? And let me tell you, I learned a lot from my mistakes, and I will not be making those again, but I now know what I can and what I can't do with whatever budget I have. So yeah, I would definitely make another one, and I will continue making more. And obviously I wouldn't be doing this for, yeah, I probably wouldn't do this if I didn't want to do more. You're gonna see more. So also make sure you go through and check out Conflicted if you haven't, and you watched this first. Again, you got spoiled a lot. I did tell you some things about the story. So again though, if you haven't, go through and watch it. It is up now, and make sure you also hit the subscribe button and the like button, and I'll see you next week. Take care.